Thank you. You may be seated.
All right, morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and start off the states for the next witness.
Judge, the state will call Special Agent David Baruchko.
Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
You can adjust the microphone and you to state.
Special Agent Baruchko, could you spell your first and last name for the court reporter?
Yes, it's David Baruchko, D-A-V-I-D-B-O-R-U-S-H-K-O.
And can you tell the jury what your position is?
I am a special agent with the FBI. I am currently assigned as the evidence response team senior team leader for the San Antonio division.
Can you explain to the jury what that is?
We are the forensic evidence collectors for the FBI, so the CSI team for the FBI, so to speak.
And how long have you been with the FBI?
I've been a special agent with the FBI for 19 years.
Back in March of 2019, was your team tasked with assisting DCSO in regards to a missing person case?
Yes, we were.
And what was the substance of that assistance? What were y'all asked to do?
We were asked to assist the sheriff's office with processing 4 vehicles from the residents.
And can you just talk a little bit about, I guess, why that would have occurred? Like, what is the reason y'all would assist another agency like that? How does that kind of come about?
The FBI, we assist any federal, state, and local partners whenever they're asked. So if they have a big case or something that requires additional manpower, then we are often asked to assist them.
Agent Baruchko, you mentioned that there were 4 vehicles that were processed, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, first witness, right?
Yes.
Agent Baruchko, I'm showing you what's been marked as 275, 276, 277. Make that a little better. 278. Can you tell me what these are photos of?
So 275 and 276, they are photos of a red Jaguar. And then 277 and 278 are of a silver Traverse, Chevy Traverse.
Are those 2 of the vehicles that y'all photographed and documented back in March of 2019?
Yes, they are.
Are those true and accurate reflections of those 2 vehicles that you documented?
Yes, they are.
State would offer state's exhibits 275, 276, 277, and 278 into evidence.
No objections.
Is there a making close?
Thank you. Special Agent Baruchko, I'm going to show you, I'm going to publish State's Exhibit 275. That's the Jaguar, correct?
Yes.
And 276 is the same Jaguar, just from the front, correct?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 277 And 278 is the Chevrolet Traverse?
Yes, it is.
Special Agent Brushko, I want to turn your attention to two other vehicles that we asked you to bring, that we asked you to testify in regards to today. The first being a silver Malibu, correct?
Yes.
And before we get started, can you tell me where did these documentations of these vehicles happen at?
So all of the vehicles were processed in the, we have a bay at the FBI office for vehicle processing. So we could only accommodate 2 of the vehicles at a time. So the first 2 were brought, we processed those 2 vehicles, and then those vehicles were removed, and then the 2 other vehicles were brought in afterwards.
And is there a team of FBI agents who perform this documentation?
There's a team of FBI personnel, some of which are special agents, some of which are professional support employees for the office. They're all on the evidence response team.
And what was your role during the documentation of these vehicles?
So my role during the processing of the vehicles was I was the alternate team leader. So there was a senior team leader that was in charge, and I was assisting him and kind of being the hands-on person.
And as part of what y'all were doing, did y'all photograph these vehicles?
Yes, we did.
And can you tell the jury when you're photographing these vehicles, are you photographing all sides of the vehicles?
Yes, we are. We take photographs before the condition of the vehicle at the start. We call those entry photographs, where we'll take photographs from all different angles. Then we'll open up and take photographs of all the different compartments of the vehicle, the trunk, the engine area. So we thoroughly photograph the vehicles.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Special Agent Brushko, in regards to that silver Malibu, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 279, 280, 281, 282, 283, 284, 285, 286, 287, 288, and 289. Can you just briefly look through those photos and see if those are photos that were taken during the FBI's documentation of that vehicle?
Yes, these are all photographs that we took while processing this vehicle.
And as you're processing this vehicle, particular items that may be of interest, do y'all also take photos of them outside of the vehicle?
Yes, so if we find something that we're going to collect as evidence, we will photograph it in its original location, and then we will take the item out and do close-ups with a scale. Usually it's on brown paper, so that you can see a good overall view of the item.
Do you also, so you take a picture of the item as found in the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And then a picture of it outside the vehicle to better see the whole item?
Yes, sir.
In State's Exhibits 279 through 289, do these images truly and accurately depict the things that y'all documented on that particular day?
Yes, they do.
Do they appear to be altered or amended in any way?
No, they do not.
State would offer State's Exhibits 279 through 289 with evidence pending any objection.
No new objections.
You guys admit there are many to be published.
Thank you, Judge. I'm going to first publish for the jury State's Exhibit 279. Is that a picture of that Malibu?
Yes, it is.
State's Exhibit 280 is just another angle, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did y'all open the trunk and photograph the inside of the trunk of that Malibu?
Yes, we did.
Is State's Exhibit 281 a photograph of that trunk?
Yes, it is.
There's a black item in the center of that photograph. Can you tell the jury what that was?
It's a roll of heavy black plastic.
State's Exhibit 282, can you tell the jury what we're looking at in that photo?
That's some of the items that were found in the trunk, including the roll of black plastic and some other items, some documents, glove, and I don't recall what else. Could I use my original documentation in order to refresh my memory?
We're having a copy of the report that your team made that day to assist you in remembering specific details.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And we do see yellow placards in State's Exhibit 282. Can you explain to the jury what those are?
We place those yellow placards, evidence markers, next to items that we intend to seize as evidence to identify what those items are.
I'm going to publish for you State's Exhibit 283. Is that the same roll of black plastic?
Yes, it is.
And can you tell the jury, is this where it's taken out and put it on a table to photograph?
Yes, this is a close-up photograph with scale taken outside of its original location. So it would have been moved from the vehicle and placed either on a table or on the floor to be photographed.
State's Exhibit 284, what angle are we looking at?
That is a photograph taken from outside the driver's compartment, so out the driver's door open looking into the front seat of the vehicle.
State's Exhibit 285, can you tell us what we're looking at in this cup holder?
In the cup holder there were, I believe, 2 lighters that were found in the center.
State's Exhibit 286, can you tell us what angle we're looking at in State's Exhibit 286?
That is a photograph of the back seat with the rear driver's side door open.
And we see an evidence placard, number 14, in the bottom of State's Exhibit 286. Can you tell the jury what that evidence placard is indicating?
There was a small handheld hatchet or axe in the back seat of the vehicle on the floor.
State's Exhibit 287, is that a closer up picture of that?
Yes, it is.
And did y'all take that axe out and photograph it outside the vehicle?
Yes, we did.
And is that what's being depicted in 288?
Yes, it is.
And can you tell me the difference between 288 and 289?
In 289, we took the cover that was found. The axe was found with off, so you could see the axe head.
And Do you recall the day that the FBI processed these items with these photos?
Yes, it was March 4th, 2019.
Did the FBI do a subsequent processing of that same vehicle the next day?
Yes, we did.
Okay. What was the reason y'all did a subsequent processing?
It was determined there was a remote, I believe a garage door opener that was in the vehicle that the sheriff's office asked us to collect.
May I press your witness, Your Honor? Special Agent Brewster, I'm going to show you 3 photos marked State's Exhibits 290, 291, and 292. Can you take a look at those photos and tell me if you recognize the things that are photographed in them?
Yes, I do recognize the things. The first photograph, 290, is indicating where the item was found in the map well on the driver's side door. And then 291 is a closer up view of the remote in there. And then 292 is the close up with scale of the remote.
Do those truly and accurately depict the photographs that were taken on that day during the FBI's handling of that vehicle?
Yes.
Do they appear to be altered or amended in any way?
No, they do not.
State would offer State's Exhibit 290, 291, and 292, pending any objection from the defense.
No new objection.
Everybody in public.
State's Exhibit 290. Glare here, but you mentioned something about the location being the map well. I'm sorry, your placard 25, is that the area of the car you're talking about?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and that's I guess the pouch that's on the door of the driver's side?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 291. Closer photo of that?
Yes, it is.
And State's Exhibit 292 is that same garage remote clicker, correct?
Yes, it is.
Special Agent Briscoe, did y'all, there was a 4th car that you photographed and documented items of evidence for, correct?
Yes, there was.
And do you recall what type of vehicle it was?
It was a Porsche Macan, I believe.
And do you recall the date y'all processed that vehicle?
We processed that vehicle on March 5th.
And same as the other 3 vehicles, did y'all photograph and document items of evidence inside that vehicle?
Yes, we did.
And I press your witness after this. Agent Briscoe, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibits 293, 294, 295, 296, 297, and 298. Are those photographs of the documentation of the items in the Porsche Macan?
Yes, they are.
And do they truly and accurately depict the Macan and those items as y'all were documenting them back in March of 2019?
Yes, they do.
Do they appear to have been altered in any way?
No, they do not.
State would seek to offer State's Exhibits 293, 294, 295, 296, 297, and 298.
No new objection.
Everybody in public.
State's Exhibit 293 is at the front of that vehicle.
Yes, it is.
State's Exhibit 294, just in that same thing, another view of the vehicle, correct?
Yes, it is.
In State's Exhibit 295, what are we looking at right here?
In the cup holder in the center console area, there was a similar remote to the one that we seized from the other vehicle.
And State's Exhibit 2 is a closer photo where you can see the garage clicker, correct?
Yes, it is.
In addition to this garage clicker, were items potentially of interest in connection with this missing person case found in the back of the vehicle?
Yes, there were.
And can you tell the jury what those items were?
There was a box of heavy-duty contractor garbage bags, a full-size axe, a small hatchet, and a pair of work gloves, new work gloves.
And I'm going to publish State's Exhibit 298. Is State's Exhibit 298 how those items were found in the back of the Porsche Macan?
Yes, it is.
And you mentioned a larger axe, a smaller hatchet, some industrial bags of some type, and then there's a bag right here. Can you tell us what's in the bag?
Yes, I believe it was a Lowe's bag, and it had the pair of gloves in the bag.
Special Agent Brushko, were those items gathered and collected by your team?
Yes, they were.
And can you talk about the process of how that happens?
So once we photograph the items as they are in the original location and identify them as evidence items, then a photograph would have been taken with the yellow evidence placards placed next to the items. We would have then pulled the items out and photographed them up close with a scale on the brown paper again, and then we would have packaged the items as appropriate for each item.
And after those items were packaged, did y'all turn them over to the Berry County Sheriff's Office for their property keeping?
Yes, we did. We turned over all the evidence to the Sheriff's Office.
And were those items brought to the courtroom today?
Yes, they were.
Sergeant Brushko, I'm going to put some items of evidence up here with you.
Just one more.
Mr. Brushko, I'm going to first show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 307. Can you take a look at this item and tell me if you recognize what's contained in this package?
Yes, sir. It's the pair of gloves, the leather work gloves.
Okay. And how do you know that those are the leather gloves that you collected on that particular day?
Because of the documentation, it shows, that's what we wrote on the bag, one pair of mechanics wear black and yellow work gloves.
And do you make markings on the bag to assist you in knowing that that's the property that you collected?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And can you cut that open and look at what's the contents of State's Exhibit 307?
This is the Lowe's bag with the pair of gloves.
Before you hold them up, those are the items that you collected on that particular day.
Yes, they are.
Okay. State would offer State's Exhibit 307 into evidence pending any objection from the defense. Let's get back to that.
No further.
You agree?
No further objection.
Thank you. You're submitted.
Special Agent Briscoe, can you take those gloves out of the bag now and hold them up and show them to the jury? And can you just briefly describe to them what you see them as?
Yes, they're a pair of mechanics leather work gloves, tan and black in color with a little bit of red.
And permission to publish to the jury, Judge? Special Agent Briscoe, I'm next going to call your attention to State's Exhibit 308. And can you tell me what's in the package of State's Exhibit 308?
Yes, it's an open box of 42-gallon contractor cleanup bags.
And does it have those same unique markings that we spoke about in State's Exhibit 307?
Yes, it does.
Can you open that package and ensure that that's the item you packaged in there?
Yes, it is.
And does it appear to be in the substantially same state as it was whenever you collected it back in March of 2019?
Yes, it does.
State would offer State's Exhibit 308 into evidence pending any objection from defense counsel.
No further objection.
Thank you. Submitted.
Special Agent Briscoe, can you take the contents of 308 out? And are those the contractor cleanup bags that you mentioned?
Yes, they are.
And permission to publish to the jury, Judge. Special Agent Barishko, can you tell the jury, can you read the package and just tell us what the description on the package is of the item?
Yes, it says it's contractor's choice, 42-gallon contractor cleanup bags, heavy duty, 3 mil plastic, 24 bags. What's that?
Okay, and Special Agent Barishko, just to... And so I'm going to turn your attention next, Special Agent Barishko, to State's Exhibit 309. Can you tell me what State's Exhibit 309 is?
And from the packaging on State's Exhibit 309, I can see that it's the blue hatchet with the cover.
And does it have your unique markings on State's Exhibit 309 as well from the date you processed the Porsche Macan?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Can you open that package and ensure that's what's in that package? Inside that box, is that the axe or the hatchet that you found on that particular day?
Yes, it is.
State would offer State's Exhibit
309.
309 pending any objection from the defense.
No further objection.
It's admitted.
Barishko, are you able to take that hatchet out of that box?
I can.
And based on the packaging, what is that tool described as?
It's a 4-pound splitting tool called Fireside Friend. It says it has a shock reduction grip, and it's made by East Wing.
Permission to publish to the jury, Judge? Special Agent Barishko, permission to approach the publishing device. I'm going to publish against State's Exhibit 298, correct?
Yes.
And we've looked at these contractor bags right there, correct, on the right-hand picture?
Correct.
These workman gloves, which were in a Lowe's bag, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And then this was the log splitter, the blue smaller axe right here, correct?
Yes.
In addition, y'all found a larger axe in the back of the Porsche Macan associated with this missing person case, correct?
Yes, we did.
Did you collect that axe?
Yes, we did.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 310. Is that the box containing that ax?
Yes, it is.
Does it have your unique markings on that box?
Yes, it does.
Can you open that box and ensure that that's the item that's inside the packaging there?
Yes, it is.
State would offer State's Exhibit 290 pending any objection from the defense.
It's 310.
I'm sorry, 310 pending any objection from the defense.
Can you approach the benches?
Judge State would offer what's now been marked as State's Exhibit 310 to evidence pending any objection from the defense.
None of the objections to the actual item.
Mr. Brushko, can you cut the fastener at the bottom of State's Exhibit 310? Cut the fastener at the bottom of State's Exhibit 310. It's a zip tie. And permission to publish to the jury, Judge. And is 310 what was found in the back of that Porsche Macan?
Yes, it is.
just like the Malibu, these items were, or just like any items that y'all document, y'all took photographs of them in their original location with placards, and then if there was any items that y'all believe were important, y'all take pictures of them on the table.
That's correct.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
Special Agent Baruchko, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 299, 300, 301, 302, 303, 304, 305, and 306. Are those photographs of those items being documented in the various locations?
Yes, they are. Yes.
And do they truly and accurately depict the items as they were on that particular day?
Yes, they do.
State would offer State's Exhibits 299 through 306, pending any objection from the defense.
No new objection.
Here they're ready to publish.
Special Agent Baruchko, State's Exhibit 299 differs a bit from 298. 298 is what?
298 is the entry photo, so that's how the items were the first time we opened the trunk of the vehicle.
And then what is State's Exhibit 299?
State's Exhibit 299 is when we placed the evidence placards out, the items were slightly rearranged just to be able to see them a little bit better.
State's Exhibit 300?
That is the close-up with scale of the bag, of the box of contractor garbage bags.
State's Exhibit 301?
That is the close-up with scale of the two-handed axe.
State's Exhibit 302, a little bit closer.
Yes.
State's Exhibit 303?
That is the close-up with scale of the small hatchet.
And State's Exhibit 304?
That's the hatchet with the cover removed.
Finally, State's Exhibit 305.
That's the Lowe's bag with the pair of gloves in it.
And one more, I apologize. 306.
And that is just the gloves.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Thanks.
Good morning, Agent. I'm John Conver. Just ask you.
Mr. Convery, can you use the microphone, please?
Sorry. I just want to ask you a few questions this morning. First off, you said you're with the FBI and identified all those things. Are you here pursuant to subpoena, or is it accommodation to another law enforcement agency?
Pursuant to a subpoena, sir.
And through your regional office, did it comply with the 2E regulations?
Yes, we did.
When you appeared this morning, you brought these things with you from your property room?
No, sir. They were with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office property room.
And when you came into this investigation, you coordinated with the Detective Stubbs.
That is correct.
And Detective Stubbs told you that the black Porsche Macan was the missing person, or Andreen McDonald's vehicle.
Yes, I believe so.
And that Andre McDonald did not ordinarily, or to their knowledge, didn't drive it at all.
Sorry, sir, can you rephrase the question?
Well, it was pretty much only Andreen McDonald's vehicle.
I do not recall specifically whose vehicle was which.
Do you recall Detective Stubbs telling you in the morning or out there when you were processing this evidence that you believe the black Porsche had been driven by Andre McDonald on Saturday morning, March 2nd, 2019, in the early morning, like 2 a.m.?
I do recall that we were told that he drove the vehicle. I believe it was on a Saturday. As far as what time that was, I don't recall that, sir.
Were you informed that before the vehicles even got to you, that they had been entered and searched at the Solitude Cove address?
Yes, I believe so, sir.
Because you didn't find a purse, correct?
Correct. I do not believe that we found a purse in the vehicle.
You didn't find a cell phone, correct?
Not to my recollection, sir.
You didn't find a clutch, a woman's hand wallet or anything like that. You didn't go through those today, so I'm assuming you didn't find them.
Yeah, I do not believe that we found any of those items, sir.
And the photograph in the background reveals in the back seat a valise or a briefcase and certain other items. I noticed you didn't discuss any paper materials or the subject. You don't have that briefcase with you, correct?
We did not bring it here today, sir.
Okay. And whatever the other items were in the back seat, correct? All you brought with you were what you identified.
Yes, sir.
To the jury, but that's not the full contents of the vehicle.
No, sir.
And in the items that you did identify for the jury all appear to be new. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
In other words, most of them still have, the axe still has the plastic on the head of the axe, correct?
Yes.
They have little tags and things either along the handle or sometimes on the face of them. And I'm talking about each one of them that appear to show that they're new.
Yes, the two axes and the gloves appear to be new. The box of contractor garbage bags was opened at the time that we found it.
You didn't know?
We did not open it. It was open. It was open before we found it, sir.
Did you count the bags?
No, sir, we did not.
Has to be.
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
Thank you. Your excuse.
Thank you.
Please stay next witness.
Your Honor, the state calls CSI Officer Jason Tibbs.
Your Honor, can we approach briefly before Mr. Pierce begins to testify?
microphone, you can adjust the microphone.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Deputy Jason Tibbs with Bexar County Sheriff's Office.
And would you please spell your first and last name?
Jason space Tibbs.
Thank you. So you work with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. How long have you worked there?
29 years.
And what is your current role with the Sheriff's Office?
I work in a crime scene unit.
Could you just in your own words kind of tell the jury what your daily routine is as a part of the crime scene unit with the Sheriff's Office?
I respond to calls for crimes. Whenever I get to the location, I take photographs, I collect evidence, I submit the evidence into the property room afterwards, and then I'll write reports.
And how long have you been in that role?
16 years.
And so were you working in that capacity back in March of 2019?
Yes, I was.
And so did you have an occasion to help and assist with the investigation of a missing persons offense back in early March of 2019?
Yes, I was.
And so what was kind of the first thing that you did with regard to this investigation back on March the 2nd of 2019?
Can I get a report for reference?
May I approach on? That's just one of many, but that's what we're saying. Can use that to refresh your memory, but please do not read from it directly. So what was your first task on March 2nd, 2019 with regard to this investigation?
I was asked to tow 2 vehicles to the FBI headquarters for processing. It was a Chevy Malibu and a Traverse.
And who did you hand those vehicles off to? You could say the agency, doesn't have to be the specific.
Okay, yes, to the FBI recovery team, evidence recovery team.
And so did you kind of, over the next couple of days, coordinate getting the cars to and from the FBI bay, and then did you eventually take items into custody and put them into the Bexar County property room?
Yes, that's what I did the next several days.
And so then I want to bring your attention to March the 7th of 2019. Did you make the location of 1042 Solitude Cove to assist with regard to a search pursuant to a search warrant?
And that was on, you're saying March 2nd?
March the 7th.
March the 7th?
Yes.
Do you have a report in reference to that one?
I did a second ago. Let me see this. Yes, I do. May I approach your arm?
And, Your Honor, before that report is tendered, I would ask that the state lay the proper predicate for past recollection refresh.
Fine, you just want to lay the predicate?
So I asked you about your assistance on March the 7th of 2019. Would having a copy of your report help refresh your recollection in regard to what you did on that day?
It would have been a search warrant at Solitude Cove, where myself and Deputy E. Garza searched the property.
And so do you remember any items of evidence that you collected that day?
Yes, there was a bag of clothing that I collected from that location.
May I approach the look at your exhibits? And while I'm looking for some photographs, do you remember the location in Solitude Cove where you gathered the clothing?
Yes, it was inside of the washroom by the garage.
May I pull this on the Elmo, Your Honor? So Deputy Tibbs, I'm showing you what's been previously admitted into evidence as states 216. Is this one of the items of clothing evidence that you collected on March 7th?
Yes, it is.
And then states exhibit 221, is that another one of the items of clothing that you collected?
Yes, it is.
Now, did you bring those items with you today?
Yes, I did.
And so just describe briefly for the jury, how did you go about collecting and securing those items?
I was directed by one of the investigators to go to the washroom to collect some items and take photographs. I walked in, the items were inside of a white plastic bag. The investigator opened up the bag and pulled the two items out, and I took photographs of them. They were placed back inside of that plastic bag, and then I placed it inside of a paper bag as evidence.
And then did you then take it to the Bexar County property room?
Yes, I did.
And so then today, what did you have to do to get those items of evidence and bring them here to court?
I had to go talk to the clerk over in the property room, one of the deputies, and they retrieved the items. He printed out a printout for the items that I was going to be taking, and I had to sign the property receipt showing that I took those items.
Yeah, Bertrand. Deputy Tibbs, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 311. Please look at this bag and see if you recognize what this bag contains.
Yes, I do recognize this bag.
Okay, and so how do you individually identify an article of evidence that you collect?
I have an evidence label on there that is labeled with the items inside of it, the case number, the item number, and my name on it.
And so what is the specific item number for these articles of clothing that you brought today?
It's going to be JTE69.
So would you mind opening the bag and confirming that the clothing matches what you collected, please? Or not just yet, just come look at it.
Yes, those are the items I collected.
And now, just to be clear, did you yourself do any testing on these articles of clothing?
No, I did not.
So your sole role is just to collect and put into the property room?
That is correct.
don't know if I offered 311 on the record. If I did, I withdraw the offer, Your Honor.
So, Deputy Tibbs, you did a lot of stuff on this case,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
now I'm going to direct your attention to March the 12th. Were you asked to collect a buccal sample?
Yes, I was.
And so just kind of briefly, the jury's heard a little bit about it, but what's your process and procedure for collecting a buccal from an individual?
Okay. I put on gloves, first things first. Put on gloves. I go ahead and get my box set up. I have the person swab the inside of their cheek on their own, or I can do it. Usually they prefer to go ahead and do it themselves. They swab the inside of their cheek, get real nice and moist, 10, 15, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. We put it inside the box, and then I give him another swab, and he swabs the other side of his cheek, and then puts it inside the box. I close the box up. I label the outside of the box. I put it inside of an envelope, and then I actually put a label on the outside of the envelope.
You're on the clean approach.
All rise, the jury, please. Down this way. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I think where we left off before the break, Deputy, was you were explaining for the jury your process in collecting buckles. Could you finish up that explanation, please?
Okay, so put gloves on, I collect the buckles, they go inside of a box, I label the outside of the box, it goes inside of an envelope. I put a label on the envelope, it gets sealed, and then it gets placed in the property room.
And so on March the 12th of 2019, did you do that same process with the defendant, Andre McDonald, pursuant to a search warrant?
Yes, I did.
And so specifically, what was your process with regard to getting the defendant, Mr. McDonald's buckle swab?
I was called into the CID interview room. They asked me to do a collection of a buckle. They showed me the search warrant. I placed gloves on like I'm supposed to. I let him, he did the swabbing himself. One swab on one side of the cheek, the other swab on the other side of the cheek. They both went into the same protective box. It was labeled on the outside of it. It was placed inside of an envelope. I put another label on the outside of it, documenting what it was, and sealed it and placed it in the property room.
And so then do you see the individual here that you collected that buckle sample from on March the 12th?
Yes, I do.
Could you please point to him and identify him by an article of clothing?
Okay, he's right over there wearing a multicolored tie and a jacket.
Let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant. May I approach the witness? Deputy, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 312. Could you please examine and see if you recognize?
Yes, I do.
And so what do you recognize State's 312 to be?
It's going to be the buckle swab collected from Andre McDonald, dated 3/12 of 2019 at 11:30 in the morning.
And so how do you recognize that to be the buckle that you collected that day?
It's in the envelope that I put it in, and it has the label on it.
And then did you give that a unique identifier number for your evidence collection?
Yes, I did. JTE 74.
Could you please just open up the envelope and confirm that the swab is correct?
Yes, it is.
So did you have markings on the box of the swab?
Yes.
Is it that JT?
No, I didn't put that on there. I put the case number.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just again, for the record, what was the evidence identification number that you gave the buckle?
JTE 74.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
No questions at this witness.
Your next witness, please.
State would call Sean Thompson. Investigator Sean Thompson.
Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Please state.
Sergeant Thompson, can you introduce yourself to the jury and spell your first and last name?
Sergeant Sean, S-H-A-W-N, Thompson, T-H-O-M-P-S-O-N. I'm a sergeant with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. I've been employed there for 16 years. I am currently assigned in CID, our Criminal Investigation Division, where I'm the sergeant in charge of the crime scene unit, property room, APHIS, E-Trace, and NIBIN.
And Sergeant Thompson, what was your role back in March of 2019?
I was an investigator.
And as an investigator back on March 2nd of 2019, were you dispatched to take a buccal swab?
Yes, sir.
And I believe another witness has talked about it, but can you just briefly explain to the jury what a buccal swab is?
A buccal swab is a cotton-tipped swab that is utilized to swab the inside of a person's mouth on the inside of the cheeks to obtain a DNA sample from the buccal membrane. Usually what's done is, normally it's 30 seconds of firm rubbing on the inside of the cheek to obtain the sample. Newer studies say that as long as you do a full 6 up and down swabs firmly, is sufficient to obtain that sample.
And after you obtain that sample, what do you do with those swabs?
They get submitted into the property room where they're waiting to get sent to the lab where a DNA profile will be created off of that swab.
And who was the individual who you were asked to take a buccal swab from on that particular day?
At that time, it was the missing person's mother, Mrs. Smith. I don't remember, or I can't pronounce her first name. I know it starts with an H.
Okay. Did you make a report on that particular day or a supplement?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Would having a copy of that supplement may assist you in being able to say what her name is?
Yes.
Okay. May I first grab?
Yes.
Is that a copy of your supplement?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And using that supplement to refresh your memory, do you know what the individual, you said the victim's mother, the missing person's mother, do you know what her first and last name was?
Yes. I don't know if I'm able to pronounce her first name properly, but Hyacinth Smith?
Hyacinth Smith?
Yes.
Okay. And can you just spell it? Obviously, maybe pronunciation, but spelling-wise, can you spell how it's spelled?
First name is Hyacinth. Last name, common spelling, Smith. S-M-I-T-H.
And was that buccal swab, was that subject to a search warrant or consent, or which way did you get that buccal swab?
No, sir. My understanding was that they contacted her ahead of time that she was willing to provide the buccal swab. I contacted her myself and asked her if she would be willing to provide a voluntary buccal swab for DNA evidence, so that way, if remains were located, we can use the swab for that purpose. So she agreed to do it, and she signed a consent form.
So Ms. Smith verbally consented to you, and she signed one of your consent forms as well?
Yes, sir.
Sergeant Thompson, I asked you to bring those buccal swabs here to the courthouse today, correct?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 313. Is that one of the two swabs that you took from Hyacinth Smith?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how do you know that's the swab that you took from Hyacinth Smith?
It has my ugly handwriting on here. It has ST, which is my initials, E1. Her name's written on here along with the case number, the date it was collected.
And did you assign it an item number?
Just the STE one, sir. Right here.
Okay, STE one, that's
Yes, sir.
what you had said. And can you just, for purposes of the record, can you cut that open and see that that is the swabs that you collected on that particular day?
If you'd like me to, yes, sir.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can put it back in there. So the swab that's in State's Exhibit 313, is that one of the two swabs that you collected from Maureen or Hyacinth Smith on March 2nd of 2019?
Yes, sir.
And did you collect that swab with the same methods that you previously spoke to the jury, that is your training and experience how to collect a swab?
Yes, sir.
And after you collect that swab, you put in that packaging and you forwarded it on to the Bexar County Sheriff's property room?
I took it myself and entered it myself into the proper room. Yes, sir.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
Good morning, Sergeant. How are you?
Good, sir. Yourself?
Doing well. You executed the buccal swab process with Ms. Smith at Coral Grove, correct?
Yes, sir.
But you had been to 1042 Solitude Cove the previous day, March 1st, right?
I believe so. Yes, sir. Yes, that's correct.
You were involved in taking some of the items of evidence that had been marked out of that address for evidence, right?
I believe items were pointed out and I had crime scene collect them. Yes, sir.
Okay. One of those items was a Louis Vuitton wallet that was found on the kitchen table, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that item had been brought out and placed on the kitchen table by one of the women who had first reported Andreen missing, correct?
I'm not too sure, honestly, sir.
Okay. Did you ever encounter a woman named Elizabeth Cancel?
No, sir.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
Nothing from the state, may he be excused?
Then you're excused. Okay, next witness.
State calls CSI Enrico Garza.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Again, so you've already met the jury. I think you previously testified. And we brought you out here today to talk about a different day where you had some responsibilities with regard to the investigation into the missing person of Andre McDonald. So Deputy Garza, I will direct your attention to Friday, July 12th of 2019. Were you dispatched to a specific location that day with regard to this investigation?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And where did you go?
I believe it was off of Spec Road, but if I could refer to my report for a refresher.
Well, I think we'll just stick with Spec Road for now. Is that okay?
Yes, that's correct.
So Spec Road, and so what were you tasked with doing at that location on Spec Road?
So that day, my supervisor at the time, Sergeant Mario Cervantes, tasked me with photographing the scene in its entirety to include items of evidentiary value.
So you took photographs. Do you remember roughly about how many photographs you took that day?
Approximately about 360.
And then in addition to taking photographs, did you make any other sort of video documentation of the scene?
Yes, I created or generated a video recording of the crime scene.
Okay, and so just briefly kind of explain to the jury what's your process on making a video recording of a particular location?
So it varies. Obviously, the circumstances vary, but in this instance, since it was a large field, approximately 50 acres, I worked my way from to the center of the crime scene, video recorded that immediate area, and then once I observed the items of evidentiary value, which were human remains, centered my attention on that, panned out, and did a complete 360 of that area to include the walkway in which I took, the path that I took.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor? Deputy Garza, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 314. Do you recognize State's Exhibit 314?
Yes, ma'am.
And how do you recognize it?
With my initials and badge number.
And did you have an opportunity before testifying to review the contents of State's Exhibit 314?
Correct.
And what is on the disc?
The video that I recorded of the crime scene.
And when you reviewed it, is it a true and accurate representation of the video that you took that day?
Yes, ma'am.
State moves to adjourn 314.
Your Honor, if I could have a brief for the witness. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
You've reviewed 314 very recently.
That's correct.
Does it contain any audio of things that are going on at the scene when you're investigating?
I'm sure it does. I try not to speak, obviously, but I cannot control the elements. So obviously you might hear a vehicle rolling by, a radio from another police officer, and or discussing which pathway I might be taking. So yes.
Okay, so there are people that are talking on this.
Possibly.
On this disc.
Possibly.
Your Honor, I wouldn't have any objection to the video depiction, but I would object to any verbal statements that are on here as hearsay.
We can mute the video, Your Honor, during publishing, and then if there are specific audio, we can make redactions before it's actually sent to the jury.
I just want to make sure that the actual exhibit that's published doesn't contain any audio.
We can go ahead and mute it, and then we'll make sure we get on the record and enter the right one that's redacted.
They have published on. I'm just going to mute the speakers on the TV. So for the record, we're playing State's Exhibit 314 for the jury. Deputy Garza, can you see the video okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So as we just kind of move through the playing of the video, because there is no sound to it, can you just kind of just describe for the jury what you're focusing on and what you're looking at?
So at this point in time, I obviously observed human skeletal remains. As you see, right here is a skull, part of the spine and whatnot, and various other pieces of the skeletal system. Right here, I'm just focusing in on what was readily available and obvious to me at this point in time. This was right prior, before anything was disturbed, before any search was conducted. This is just a preliminary video recording of the crime scene as it was located before it was disturbed. And when I say disturbed, that's from humans.
So essentially, this is how you found it this is what it looked like when y'all walked up to the scene.
This is a depiction of how I observed it upon my arrival. And right here, I'm just video recording the area in itself. The human skeletal remains are scattered through that area and whatnot. So I just wanted to make sure I was able to get as much as I could that in which I was able to see with my human eye.
And on that day, did you have any role in, identifying which ones were human remains, which ones might not have been human remains, or was that for somebody?
No, ma'am, that was for somebody else, the medical examiner. And again, I'm just zooming in on what I believe to be human skeletal remains.
So are we looking back at the road from the location at this point in time at about the 2-minute mark in the video?
That is correct. Right here, I am just panning to the roadway to see a general distance from the roadway and to where the remains were located.
Is that your shadow with the camera at the bottom of the screen?
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
When you're taking this, did you walk the entire field?
No, ma'am. Like I said, the area was real concentrated. We wanted to make sure that we didn't disturb that area as much as possible. We want to keep that scene, the integrity intact. So the direct area in which I was notified to record is what I recorded. And I kept the same walkway as I entered as I exited.
And just a few moments ago in the video, there was a black and white sort of square checkered object. Do you know what that was?
Yes, that's going to be a target for a drone. I cannot get into that because that's not my area of expertise, but that is a reference guide in which they use when they fly a drone and take aerial photographs and recording. And again, that's just me walking out the same way I came in.
It looks like you might be walking along what could be like tire tracks or a vehicle track.
That is correct.
Is that something that maybe one of the Bexar County Sheriff's Office vehicles would have made?
Possibly, or it could have been the property owner.
Is that another one of those drone placards?
Yes, that is. And that right there is the command staff area where everybody was getting a general synopsis of what was occurring at location. Well, you see all the vehicles.
So these are law enforcement vehicles, maybe some medical examiner vehicles.
That is correct.
And essentially what you're doing right now is walking away from where you found the human remains back to the command station.
That is correct. And again, I'm just panning, showing my walkway to the area of interest where the human remains were located.
in on now?
That is correct.
Is that the complete video that you took that day?
Yes, ma'am.
So I think, Deputy, you also said that you took some photographs that day.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
One second, Your Honor. May I approach the witness? So I've got a grouping of photos marked States Exhibit 315 through States Exhibit 342. Do you mind looking through these just to see if you recognize them?
Yes, ma'am.
And so that was 314 through 342. Now will you look at 343 to 347 in numerical order?
Yes, ma'am.
And so do States Exhibit 315 through 347 accurately depict the pictures that you took that day?
Yes, ma'am.
State moves to admit 315 to 347.
Can we approach?
Yeah, publish just a few more.
Yes.
And so, Deputy Garza, we spoke earlier about the specific location where you were at, and I think you said it was Specht Road, so showing you 318. Did you document the specific address of the location?
Yes, I photographed the fence post in which displayed the numerical address of that location that we found the human remains.
And so what are we looking at in State's Exhibit 330? Do you know who's holding the bones depicted in State's Exhibit 330?
I believe that is the medical examiner, if I'm not mistaken. And right there, she's holding partial of a jaw with teeth.
Object to lack of foundation, 702.
Okay, so we'll
And I guess, what are y'all doing? Because I know you just said in the crime scene video y'all hadn't disturbed anything, but now it appears as if you are collecting certain items and looking at them more closely. What's your process?
So at this point, when the medical examiner investigator arrives at location, they begin to conduct their investigation as to collecting human remains or whatnot. So I'm there just to aid and assist. I'm not grabbing, touching anything. I'm merely just documenting, and the way I'm documenting is photographing. So as they collect items of evidentiary value, as you would see the human remains, as they're picking it up, they photograph their sequence, and then I photograph my sequence.
And so looking at State's Exhibit 336,
What's significant about why you chose to take that photograph?
So there you'll see an
Again, going to object to lack of foundation, 702. 705B, if we're going to ask him what he's identifying out of these remains or the things he's seeing, I'd like to test his qualification for what he knows about it.
I think the question just was like why you chose to take this picture.
I chose to take this picture because from what I see, again, I'm no expert. From what I see is what appears to be an artificial male. That's why I photographed that. It was brought to our attention.
So then looking at State's Exhibit 338, and I guess has the sorting process begun, and that's just what you're documenting here?
That is correct. The medical exam.
I'm objecting to leave.
Okay, phrase the question is the same.
And so what process and procedure are you documenting here in State's Exhibit 338?
So at this time, the medical examiner placed what we believe to be the human remains on the top of this table. They organized it as they see fit.
I'm going to object. There's a hearsay issue there of lack of personal knowledge. He's attested that he's not an expert. The medical examiner would be the one making this determination. And they're vouching for the medical examiner's determination through this witness, which creates a hearsay confrontation problem.
What specifically your objection to what?
The witness's testimony it included the use of we in explaining the process that is being undergone and documented in this photograph. He has attested that he doesn't have the expertise to do this. It's the same, Your Honor?
Yes.
I would ask that the jury disregard the answer.
Disregard the last answer.
And so looking at State's Exhibit 344, just same process, somebody holding it up and you're documenting what's been found there.
Correct. I'm photographing what was located.
Do you remember specifically where what's depicted in State's 344 was located in relation to the area? I guess, was it out in the open or was it undercover? Do you remember?
I do not recall, ma'am. I'm sorry.
So as far as July 12th with regard to the Specht Road location, did that kind of end your duties and responsibilities with regard to that crime scene?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'll take your attention over to July 13th of 2019. Did you get dispatched to assist at an address of 3306 Coral Grove in reference to the defendant, Mr. Andre McDonald?
Yes, ma'am.
And what were you tasked to do when you got to the location?
To photograph and collect items of evidentiary value.
And did you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you photograph?
I photographed the arrestee and evidence that I collected, which was a cell phone.
May I approach on?
Yes.
Showing you states 348, 349, 350, 351, and 352. Would you please look at those and see if you recognize them.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, the state's exhibits 348 through 352 accurately depict the photographs you took that day on July 13th of 2019 of the defendant, Mr. McDonald, and the cell phone.
Yes, ma'am.
State moves to admit 341 to 352.
Lauren, you said 341 is 348. Say it again.
348.
348. It's my eyes.
May I have a brief witness, Your Honor? Good morning, Deputy. How are you?
Good.
Calling your attention specifically to what's been offered as states 350 through 352. Did you assist in the arrest of Mr. McDonald that day at all?
As in placing handcuffs on him?
Or did you observe that process being carried out?
No, sir.
Okay, you arrived after he had already been arrested.
That is correct.
Okay, do you know where that phone was found?
No, I do not.
You don't know whether it was on his person or whether it was in his car or whether it was in the...
No, sir. I cannot attest to that.
Okay. Your Honor, we would object to 350 through 352 until a more of a foundation can be laid as to how it came into their possession. We have no objection to 348 or 349.
Objection to denied, they're admitted.
May I approach the witness again?
Yes.
And then now I'm showing you Deputy Garza, State's Exhibit 353. Do you recognize State's Exhibit 353?
Yes, ma'am.
And how do you recognize it?
The evidence I collected with the markations of my initials and the evidence sequential order.
Okay. And so, what unique identifier did you give this piece of evidence?
EFG-E1.
And then what is it specifically?
A cell phone?
And is that same cell phone that we saw in the picture of State's Exhibit 352?
Correct.
Okay. Would you mind opening up the envelope and confirming that it's... And then just to be clear, you didn't perform any searches or any sort of that function on the cell phone. Your sole job was just to collect it and put it in the property room.
That is correct.
And did you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
And then where did you find that cell phone today? Where did you get the cell phone?
Oh, I'm sorry. From the property room. I removed it from the property room through the process of the property room clerk, signed it out, and brought it to court.
Now, Deputy Garza, I'm going to direct your attention to March 25th of 2021, where you requested to do anything else with regard to the cell phone that we just marked as State's Exhibit 353.
Yes, an evidence request form was sent by, I believe, Investigator Garcia to photograph the evidence in a more secure area, which would be our property room, our crime scene bay, just post-production type photographs.
And so when you documented the cell phone, did you make note of the unique identifier for the cell phone, otherwise known as the IMEI number?
I believe so, and that's the identification number for the cell phone, kind of like a serial number.
And do you know what that number was?
Off the top of my head, no, ma'am.
Would a copy of your report help refresh your recollection as to the IMEI number of the cell phone you collected?
Yes, ma'am.
May I approach the witness?
Yes.
And just use that to refresh your memory.
Is it a short number or a long number, Deputy Garza?
It's a long number.
Do you know the last four?
9444.
And then where do you actually find and locate that number on the cell phone?
It's various places, but I believe on this cell phone it was in the back, the bottom, if I'm not mistaken.
Pass the witness room.
Defense.
Good morning again.
Good morning, sir.
The property out on Spec Road, you said it was 50 acres,
Approximately.
and out in July, middle of the growing season, it was fairly green and overgrown, right?
Correct.
You had not been out there in the previous time to examine what the property looks like in winter or early spring, right?
No, sir, myself, no.
Okay. But fair to say, probably less vegetation than what you saw in July.
I would say yes.
I noticed in the video that you focus on the area where the remains were found, and then you turn back and start walking east towards the gate, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's a pretty good click to get over to the gate from where the remains were found, correct?
Yes, sir.
But all of that time, you're walking basically parallel to Spec Road.
Correct.
And there's a barbed wire fence that's running that whole length up to the gate at the far east corner that you stopped the video at, right?
If I remember correctly, yes, sir.
Did you document that barbed wire fence at all?
Through pictures, photographs.
Video, just personal observation? Did you take time to look at the fence or its condition?
So I do a proper protocol of photography. I do a complete 360 of the area, so it should be included in my photographs.
Okay, but you didn't do anything up close that you were aware of?
No, sir.
Okay. Are you aware that the barbed wire along that fence is very loose and not very taut? You could pull it apart like that.
Could you repeat that question from the beginning, please?
Are you aware that that wire on that fence line facing Spec Road is very loose and wobbly? It's not pulled together tight like it's supposed to be?
No, I was not made aware of that.
And you didn't observe it then?
No, sir.
Okay. Did anyone ask you to look and see if you could find, torn up trash bag or an article of clothing or a piece of skin or anything on the barbed wire?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, where the remains are found is where the fence along Spec Road and another fence meet to form a right angle, correct?
So you're speaking of the fence line off of Spec Road and the adjacent property fence?
Yes, sir. You know what I'm talking about? That basically the remains were close to a property fence, right?
Yes, that is correct.
That would have started at Spec Road and moved south along the property, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's where the majority of the acreage is. You walk that fence going back, you just keep going and going. It's a lot of acres back there.
Yes, that's correct.
You didn't go out and document any of that part of the property, though, with your video camera, right?
No, sir, because I was not requested of that.
Okay. Were you aware that there are other cow remains further down that fence line from where Andreen's remains were found?
Further down from the area of interest?
Correct.
No, but there was animal remains in the vicinity of where the human remains were located.
Right. You found some cow bones mixed in with with human bones, right?
Animal bones. I'm not too sure what type of animal bones they were, but yes, animal bones.
Okay. Now, out in that kind of property in Bexar County, you'd expect to see lots of different kinds of animals, right?
That's fair to say, yes.
You might see coyotes, raccoons, you might see cattle, that
Sure.
kind of thing. Did you look for any evidence or sign of those animals having been in the area recently?
No.
Okay. Along that fence line that we're talking about that runs from Speck Road back to the back of the property, there's a lot of heavier, denser vegetation along that fence line, correct?
Yes, sir.
In fact, the further back you go, it looks on your video, there are bigger trees, things like that further back, correct?
Unkept field, yes.
Okay. Especially along the fence line compared to the rest of the field.
Yes, sir.
The rest of the field is kind of pasture, grazing land.
Correct.
But up in this part, it's brushy and thorny and all kinds of stuff.
Yes, sir.
Okay. From where you found the remains, looking back on Speck Road, if you're standing there, it would be visible, even with all that brush from the roadway, right?
Are you talking about the human remains and being visible?
No, you as a person standing there in that location, somebody from the roadway wouldn't have trouble seeing you, you would think, right?
Somewhat, yes.
Okay, but I mean, you think that you'd be completely obscured?
Me, if I was standing there and if somebody were to be looking at me from Speck Road, if I would be obscured? No.
Okay. And just to go back a little bit, moving forward to the arrest of Mr. McDonald, when you photographed the phone, where was the phone?
On top of a vehicle.
On top of the vehicle.
Correct.
Okay. But you don't know how it got there.
No, sir.
I'll pass the witness.
Yes, sir.
Nothing else, Ron.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me. No,